Alright fellas, this is CJ17 Invader, and I'm signing on today with the SU-122-44. This tank is really fun. It has a different play style from other tank destroyers in that it's not slow. It doesn't have super great camouflage, but it does have a very powerful gun. It has the typical Russian 122, hence the SU-122 part. But this tank, it's a medium tank destroyer, and there's not too many of those. The only real medium tank destroyers you're going to see are the 100M1 through the 263 line. And once you get up to the 263, that's not really a medium tank. It's fast, and it has great front armor, but that's a unique tank. I need to get that to show you how to play that. But you can play this tank a lot like the SU-122-44, a lot like the SU-101, the 100M1. You can play them pretty similarly. Where do I start? I guess I'll start with the armor profile. So it's built on a T-44 chassis. So it's a tier down from the T-44, meaning it's got pretty good front armor. It has 90mm front, but that slope is incredibly severe, and that giant gun mantlet ball it's a magnet for rounds. You got a tier 8 gun on a tier 7 tank destroyer, nice. And even though it has a tier 6 engine, it's fast. This thing is very fast. It goes 48, and I just fly across maps with this thing. It's very good for getting up into cover. This is not a sniping tank destroyer with a dispersion of .338 at 100 meters. It's a Russian gun. You do not snipe with it. Decent view range for a tank destroyer. Good rate of fire. Get average penetration of 175 with AP. I don't fire much APCR just because I don't need it. I mean, 175 doesn't sound like a lot, but at tier 7, you fight a lot of tier 6 tanks, and the only time I ever really use APCR is against, the IS-3s, and I don't even really use it on the KV-4s unless I have to. But average damage at 400 with AP, that's pretty good for a 122. You're looking at average damage of 500 with the HE. It's nice. You can roll high with it, but the HE pin is not great. I mean, 75mm, it's decent. 74mm max, that's not bad. It's not KV2 HE pin. It's not HESH. It's not HEP. But it's effective when you need to use it. Max of 201, max of 250 on this, max of 201. It's all really good. I really like the gun, but it's not so much the gun, it's not so much the armor, so much as the way you play the tank that makes this thing effective. This is not a sniping tank destroyer. You do not sit in bushes, you do not sit in the back of the map and hide and put shots in. It's not that kind of tank. And I say this is a unique tank because it's a frontline tank destroyer. You go up with the mediums. You play it like a medium tank almost. You don't brawl with it because you'll get circled, but you go up to that front line and you duke it out with the first couple tanks you see. And I'm going to show you a couple really good games I've had in it recently. Oops, wrong button. I'm going to show you a couple really good games I had recently in it. These three. I'm going to start with the Himmelsdorf matches and end on the Lost Temple match. So let's see. So I'm in a tier 8 game. I've got one heavy tank, all mediums, and I count myself as a medium when I'm in this tank. And it plays really well as a medium. So what I do is I push right with the mediums. I'm playing with Meat in this video. That's him over there in the Dracula. And we played really well this match. So what I did, I pushed around the side. I'll let Meat spot them all because he's got the view range. He's the Dracula. He can do whatever he wants. So I just kind of sit back for a second. I'm at the front line. I'm up in the front. I'm not sitting in the back sniping, but I'm also not pushing up to put shots in at the moment. I'm waiting because that's how you make this tank most effective. It's kind of a passive. It's passive aggressive, if you will. See, I put shots in. I'm gonna take one from somebody here in a second. I think the 43 hits me. I don't remember. But This tank, see, that's the Russian. That was a bad shot on my part, but the Russian dispersion didn't help me any. And just push down, get up in his face, and smack him. Excuse me, sorry. And then the Pershing hits me, and so I back off a little bit. Because in a tank destroyer, you don't want to be the focus of everybody's attention. That's not the idea. And then I got really upset here because I fired HE at the front of an SU and bounced. All the SU tanks have very strong gun mantlets for whatever reason. And so then I push up with meat over here. And we're looking around at what we should bully next. And the KV-4 and the Pershing are sitting over here, and they look like good targets. So what I do, I pull over here, let him focus on the ISU. I aim for the Pershing and then change my mind. Put one into the KV-4, look behind me, looking around. Meat's trying his hardest to pin the KV-4. He can't do it very easily. The KV-4's armor is just too strong for a low caliber gun. So he's dead. And now it's 4v3. And I believe it's about to become a 3v3 in a second. I don't remember. But then I push around to the side because I'm going to deal with the Type 62 over there because Meat is not, he's got about half health, and so do I, and so we figure we're going to take on one of the strongest tanks in the tier together, and I blow another shot. But push around, he's going to have a hard time doing anything. Roll 516 with HE. See, there's that HE action right there. Sides of light tanks are nice targets. Here's the Rudy, and he gives Nick hell here. So he's chasing Nick around in circles. And I push up to cut him off and finish this guy. And then the low takes me down because he takes out my engine. And there's just nothing I can do here. I bounce off of him, and it was unfortunate. See, I don't use APCR in this tank really, just because it. So let's switch to Meat here, and he finishes him off. And that's how you do it right there. But see, this tank, it's not a sniper. I didn't snipe in it, and I was fairly successful. Got a first class for it, 2,000 damage or 2,600 damage. You know, I did really well. And this tank, it's a brawler. It's not a sit in the back kind of tank. Now we'll go to the other Himmelsdorf match that I played. I was by myself in this one. And now I notice they have mostly heavies. Now what do mediums do when the other team is mostly heavies and you have medium advantage? And yes, I count myself as a medium. You flank. And so I decide, well, I'm gonna come over here, push up a little bit, see if I can catch their mediums pushing up alone, which I don't. I sit here, and the heavies do exactly what I expect them to do, which is gang up right over there in that little back corner, right there, and try to duke it out with our heavies. And so I said, okay, and then I was watching, there's the Comet, so I know for a fact that their mediums are not gonna push up. And so I'm pushing around, and then there's really nothing here that I can put shots into yet. And then one of the mediums, I think it was the Panzer IV Schmalterm, came around with me. I'm pushing over here, and I run straight into their AFK AMX M445, so I'm like, oh, this is fun HE practice. So I put a couple fatties into him. And that's a kill right there. Switch back to AP. Push around. Try to catch more of their heavies off guard here. And I catch this KV-1S off guard as well. He's backing up. Put a nice high roll into him. And he's spinning his gun, and he just does not get it on me. He doesn't know what he's doing. He tries to escape, and he just can't handle it. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point. See the KV-2's on the other side of the rock. I push up. Decide I'm going to deal with this VK right here. Try to take the pressure off the front line. And nobody's really paying attention to me, and that's what you want in this tank. You don't want them to pay attention to you, because once they do, then they start looking at you. And yes, you have a very strong upper frontal plate, But once they start focusing on you, they'll start aiming for all the weak spots, or they'll get above you. And see, I'm doing fairly well against this Comet here. He can't put shots into me because I'm sticking that gun ball out, and I'm at such a sharp angle. His little 75 is not going through. I think I try to aim for his turret here and miss, and he bounces. Yeah. Oh, I hit his turret. Nice. And then he gets angry and decides to push me. And see, that's why you don't want people focused on you, is because they'll start hitting your weak spots. So I'm looking, I'm spinning, bounce another one. If this plate is angled, with plus how sharp of a slope it's already at, they're just not gonna, have fun trying to go through you. And at point blank, facing straight at them, yeah, they'll have some successful shots, but they're not gonna go through if you angle it. Bigger tanks will. The low, the ISU, IS-3, those tanks will all go through. And there's another very successful match that I've had in the SU-122-44. And this is what most matches are like in this tank, actually. If you play it aggressively and you have any one or two decent teammates, you can do really, really well. That's another first class that I had. And both those matches were pretty close to each other. And now I'm going to show you what really happens when you unleash the SU-122-44 on a bunch of lower tier light tanks. So I'm looking, I see they're mostly lights, and I see my team's mostly lights. So I said, well, I'll push up and brawl them frontally, because I know lower tier light tanks are just not going to have a successful match against this tank. They can't pen. 90 millimeters, I'd say that's probably a 35, 37 degree angle that front plate is at. And 90 degrees at that angle, that's going to like triple, well, double and a half your armor profile in the front. You have a lower plate, sure, an APCR, sure, it'll go through. If they're above you, it's going through. But if you push your front plate on a hill upwards so that it angles it even sharper, they're going to have hell going through. I've bounced RHM rounds, I bounced ISU rounds to the front plate of this thing, even though it's only 90 millimeters. It's got one of the strongest front plates for a tier 7 tank destroyer I think there is, besides the Vindicator. But the Vindicator is a whole nother ball game. And so I'm not seeing anything at this point, and I'm starting to wonder what in the world is going on here. So I'm looking around, I'm not seeing anything, so I'm thinking, oh, they must have all gone the other way for some reason. And then I push up on this hill, and my idea changes. Because, well, there's an IS sitting right here, and immediately light him on fire, and he doesn't apparently carry fire extinguishers. He doesn't believe that you should put out fire. You should sit there and suffer. But that's fine. I'm loaded 8.8 seconds later. Put another fatty into that VK. Pull back. Almost loaded. Look at the LTTB. Put a fatty into him. And he's pretty much toast. Switch to the VK. Look at him, try to figure out where he is. Put one in through the haystack. He's toast. Turn, look at the IS. Put one into hit. Oh, nope. Hit the barricade. That's that Russian gun dispersion for you. And then I was like, you know what? I don't really care about that IS very much right now. So I turn around, look at this Type 58 who's looking straight at me. Then I look at the VK. 471 with HE. Bounce. See, every time you angle that plate and they're aiming at it, they're going to hit that gun ball. Just because of the way it's shaped. And plus your upper frontal plate is so strong, they're just not going to have a good time trying to hit you. 2, 1, and finish him off. Look around. One went through because he had my side. But a T-37, again, is going to very much struggle with your front plate. Pull around. Blow the snapshot on the VK, and that's fine. Because then he comes around and he drives straight towards me for some unknown reason. Spin around, finish him off, you know, turn, bounce the T-37 round. Switch to HE. I think I switched to HE at this point, yeah. Turn. Bust a fatty into him with HE. Give him a shot on my side. He doesn't take it. Switch to AP and killed him. 3,500 damage. Or 3,700 damage at tier 6. I mean, that's a mastery right there. I mean, 55,000 credits. This has like the highest coefficient in tier 7, by the way, for credit making. So if you're going to buy a premium tier 7, I recommend this one strongly. Yeah, I think you could say I was successful. But look, I'm going to show you what happens when you angle that front plate. So look, you turn, look how much of the front plate is covered up by that gun mantlet at that angle. That leaves not a lot of space for them to hit other than that gun mantlet. Same for the other side. It leaves a little more, but if you're going this way and you just sharply cut left, they'll hit that front plate. And it's fast enough to where you can wiggle it. You can out-traverse most of the mediums, tier 6 and 7. And they're just going to have hell of a time trying to go through. Give them that side a little bit. Think they've got a shot. Swing it. Bounce the round with your gun. But yeah, so angling when you're poking around corners is crucial. Cover up that side. Stick out the front plate. They're going to hit your gun ball. Be aggressive. This tank is extremely fun to play when you do, because it's just fun to zoom around the map and bounce all the rounds from all the mediums and show them who's boss. And that's what this tank does best, is show them who's boss. Because you can fight it with the heavies, you can fight it with the mediums, you can fight it with the lights, you can fight it with the other tank destroyers. And you're going to give them hell. Whether you're successful in an extreme way, a mild way, or not much at all, you're still going to give them a hell of a time. And that's what this tank does, is give them a hell of a time. And that's all for this tank, really. Looking at it, is there anything I didn't cover? Not really. It's not a super heavy tank, so don't ram people. You can, but don't it's only 32 tons, so don't go ramming KB4s at top speed. That's just not good policy. But other than that, this tank is phenomenal. I don't even really I run the rammer to boost that rate of fire, which is really good for a 122. An 8.8 second reload at tier 7 on a TD. Yeah, that's really good. I run the dispersion booster, the refined gun. Camo net, because it's a tank destroyer. Those are the only tanks I run the camo net on. Everything else you need view range. Actually, since it's a medium, I might even start running the improve optics. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll test it out and let y'all know what I think. But definitely run engine accelerator. It boosts your traverse and your engine power. Makes you a lot more mobile. Makes you play even more like a medium. Always run enhanced armor on everything. Unless you're like an RU or a grill, then you can run the improved assembly. But other than that, I mean, this tank is just fun to play, and I recommend that y'all play it. If you don't want to pay for a tank, go up the SU-101 line right here, the 263 line. Those tanks, while they don't have as strong a frontal plate, like this only has 100 millimeters of armor at tier 9, they play just as strong, and they have even higher rates of fire. I just really recommend these tanks. But yeah, that is all for this tank. So that is CJ17 Invader signing out.